You don't want to sit by me? Okay. Are we too high above our head, or is that alright?
What?
Is it too high above our head? Is it alright?
I think it's alright.
Okay.
But I ain't the filming expert. But I'm getting eaten up by a bee again, once again.
It won't take long for them to find you, figure out where you're at. Matt and I have sat down to answer some more questions. This will be our third video, right, of our Q&A of all the questions people ask us. And this will wrap up that original one. There are some questions that people have asked on each video. We may try to do that video. There's some nice wind.
Feels good.
Feels good. It's very hot today. Okay, ready? Ready, set, go?
I reckon.
What's your favorite sport?
Besides hunting?
Yeah, besides hunting, I guess.
Well,
we're not big sports people.
no. I like to watch a little college football in the fall when I'm off and gone to deer camp, but I don't really follow it a great deal.
Yeah, and I really don't have a favorite sport. If I had to say one, I'd say baseball, and that's only because Paul and Steve and Daddy liked it. So, but I don't watch baseball. I don't know nothing about it. So we're just really not a sports family. Now Corey and Austin, they like to watch. They're crazy about, what is it, Georgia football?
Yeah, Georgia Bulldogs.
Georgia Bulldogs. Austin's family is. So now Corey's been roped into that, and she likes it too. She likes it. So, but me and Matt are not big sports people.
I used to like racing awful well.
Yeah, Matt used to like racing.
But not so much now.
You have a favorite memory? That one's really hard because I've been so blessed that I have so many memories. I just couldn't put a favorite one, I don't think. Could you?
I don't remember most of my memories.
Oh, you do. You do, crazy. I mean, I think back to my childhood, so many good ones, but then when mine and Matt's kids were their childhood and what that was like. When me and Matt was dating, you know, I've even got great memories from last year, so I don't know. It'd be, that one's,
Coming to get you.
Coming. What is that?
There's a woodpecker.
Woodpecker. There he goes.
No, that's not a woodpecker. No. That is a, I don't know, some kind of falcon.
Oh goodness, Corey'd be upset. If she was here, she'd get all excited about that.
There's another one. It sounded a little bit like one of them red-headed woodpeckers, but it ain't.
Yeah. Maybe they're having a fuss. Anyways, too difficult for me. That's how blessed I am. Blessed more than I deserve, for sure, but that I've just got so many good memories, and I'm so thankful for all of them. I couldn't really pick one. Can you?
No, I don't know. That'd be hard.
It'd be hard, yeah. And then someone asked us, said their dad used to say this, said that like maybe there was a child that was old enough to do chores but didn't really do any chores, and he would say, well, they are old enough to eat hay and live in a barn. So in other words, they should be doing chores, but I've never heard that. And I asked Matt, and he said, no, but I like it.
Yeah.
I said, I like it too, but I've never heard that before. Does Matt have any siblings?
No.
He does not. He's the only child. His mother and father divorced when he was small, but neither one had other kids, so Matt was it. What is your favorite meal?
My favorite meal?
Yeah.
That would be grilled deer tenderloin and fried taters and ramps and pickled beans and corn and cornbread.
It's really good. Sounds delicious. I don't know, for me, that would be a great meal, but then I love soup, beans, and cornbread and kilt lettuce.
Yep.
I love fish and slaw and hush puppies and French fries. So I don't know, that's tough for me. Any of those would work, any of those three.
The problem is I like all of them.
Yeah, Matt, I was going to say, Matt's fond of saying we eat good here. We do eat good, so I mean, pretty much every day we have something good. It's not that it's that special or exotic or complicated, just simple everyday food, but it's good. I get this question a lot from people that ask about bacon grease. Do we keep our bacon grease? We do. And then do you keep it on the counter or do you put it in the refrigerator? So we keep ours on the counter, but I would say the rule with that is if you don't ever use it, then you shouldn't leave it on the counter. If you don't actually use it very often, you probably should go ahead and put it in the refrigerator. And if you save a lot, you can take part of it and put it in the refrigerator and then keep part out. But a lot of people will say, well, my grandmother, my mother, whoever just left it on the counter. My mother, Granny did, and then my grandmother's did too. It just always stayed on top of the stove, and that's just where it stayed. You know, in the little metal container that you pulled off the lid. So we do leave ours on the counter. Another question was, in some of our videos, especially on Blind Pig and the Acorn, that's our YouTube channel that has all of our music on it, and in some of those videos, especially the older ones, you see other young people in it besides Corey and Katie, mostly Ben and Mark, 2 boys. Those are my nephews. So someone asked, are those Paul's children? They're not. They're Steve, our older brother Steve's boys. Mark and Ben. They show up in some of those early videos. Does Matt play an instrument?
No.
He can play the guitar. He just likes to act like he can't.
Well, I just don't play.
He don't play, but not much, but you can play.
Very rudimentary.
You used to play a lot and sing.
Yeah, but I don't.
You don't do that much anymore.
I got other things that I like better.
Yeah. How many generations of each of our families have lived in this general area, or I would say western North Carolina, since Matt's from Haywood County? So do you know about yours?
No.
At least I would say. Well, at least 4 or 5.
Yeah.
For me, at least 10 generations. And then do we know where they come from? Matt don't really know anything much, do you, about yours?
I don't really know anything much at all about any of my family, just to be honest with you.
And I don't know much either, but I did have a dear friend, mine and Matt's friend, Lonnie Dockery, and we were related through the Wilson line. That's the line, that only thing I know about. And so he told me that because he had researched it, he loved genealogy, and he had shared all his information with me where we, on down the line, where we connect, how we connected together. But that it was 2 brothers that come from Scotland is where our Wilson line come from. So that's all we know, though. I only know that because Lonnie told me, and me and Matt have not done any research like that, but it would be interesting to do all that research.
Yeah.
Do we have any local heritage programs here to kind of instill in kids, like to, care about the things we talk about on Celebrating Appalachia? Not that I know of. I'm not aware of any. I would say maybe the closest thing that comes to that is the Junior Appalachian Musicians, but that's all about music. It's not about really the culture or folklore or language or anything. That would be a great thing to have, though, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would.
Yeah. This is one that we got through several questions, lots of questions, and I think we've even got them on the previous 2 videos that we did, is why do I not wear a wedding ring? Matt's got his wedding ring on. Yeah, and why you answer it. Let's hear what your answer is.
Because I'm more committed than you are.
No. So when me and Matt got married, we were so lucky we got to use his grandparents' rings. So that ring Matt's got on, I should have brought my rings out here to at least show you, was his grandfather Curtis. And then I used my band, which is really lovely, has diamonds in it, was his wife, Matt's grandmother, Bonnie's. Beautiful rings. And I wore mine all the time, just like Matt. Well, I didn't wear it when I was Matt don't never take his off. If I was working in the dirt or dough or something like that, I always took my rings off. But I wore them every day, just like I'd wear my earrings or whatever, until I got to the point that I couldn't. They wouldn't fit anymore. I've got like light arthritis in my fingers, I guess, as you get older, and my fingers just are bigger than they were. They stay swelled, and my rings just won't go on them. Sad but true.
Yeah, it's good stories in here.
Oh, it's the real story. Yeah. And of course I could go and have them, stretched if I wanted to, but I hate to damage that one that was Bonnie's. And then also they fit Katie perfectly, so she might someday wear them. And my engagement ring that Matt got me fits Katie too. Where did it come from? Sears?
Yeah.
Matt got it at Sears.
Yeah,
It's nice though. It's very nice.
Yeah, I think we went together and picked it out.
Yeah, we were lucky though that we got to use Bonnie's ring. It's really, really beautiful. Yeah, it's beautiful. So that's why I don't wear a wedding ring. It's not that I don't think you should or anything like that. It's just that my fingers don't fit the ring, or the ring don't fit the finger, ever how you say that. I had other rings too that I wore. I had a nice one dear friend made me out of a quarter from 1937 in honor of Pap. I had a black onyx one that Matt's mother, Miss Cindy, gave me years ago. She gave it to me and I wore it forever because she told me she wore it when Matt was little.
I remember that ring.
Do you?
I remember seeing her with it all the time.
And then I had one that Pap and Granny got me one year for Christmas. So I used to wear rings all the time. I just don't wear them now. And maybe too, the other thought is, you know, as you get older and you kind of maybe sometimes lose weight and things like that, I may get to where I can wear them again. It's not necessarily though for me that I've gained weight. It's just that I've got stiff, I guess it's arthritis. I don't even know. Stiff joints.
Yeah, old lady.
Yeah, in my old age. So Matt, when it's cold outside or bad weather and you're inside, stuck inside, what do you do for entertainment?
I generally eat. It's a bad thing.
Yeah.
But now I don't know. I'm usually watching some kind of hunting or fishing on YouTube, or I'm sharpening knives, or I'm piddling with some kind of archery stuff. Sometimes in the winter I'll put a bag target in the basement and shoot my bow in the basement, and I've got a bow press and stuff. I'll tweak and tune and play with my bow stuff and clean guns and that sort of thing. Almost everything I do outside of working has got something to do with hunting or fishing.
Mm-hmm. And I would say in addition to that, a lot of times, even if it's bad weather, Matt's outside.
Unless it's just super
yeah,
bad.
He's going up the ridge to do this or that. He's not, is not affected by weather like I would be, in other words.
Once in a while I'll stay, and even in the summer, once in a while I'll stay inside a lot of the day, but it's not very often. I'd rather be outside no matter what the weather is, because that's just where I'd rather be.
So if you knew someone that had never been in the woods, never really experienced, you know, if you was going to go on a hike, I guess, or something like that, and they were going to go, what would you tell them that they needed to know before spending time in the woods?
What do you mean, like what kind of?
I don't know. I mean, I guess you just tell. For one thing, they need to tell somebody where they're going.
Yeah.
They need to know where they're going.
Yeah, they need to know where they're going, and
yeah.
they also need to let somebody else know where they're going. But they need to know how to, you know.
I guess it depends on how long would they be gone. Like, you know, if you're going further than 200 yards, you need to make sure you've got some stuff to.
Yeah, and just know basic outdoor stuff, like how to build a fire and how to get water and how to, you know, or either carry or make a shelter in case something happened and you couldn't get back. Just, you know, real basic outdoor skills, you know, would be what I would say. Mm-hmm. And always take a flashlight.
Yeah.
Because if something happens and you don't get back and it gets dark, it just gets compoundedly worse. If you're in the black dark and have no light.
Yeah.
I've had that happen. I had that happen when I was young once. Got lost and didn't have a flashlight, didn't have any water, didn't have any of that stuff. And I was just wandering around in the black dark. And I finally, this is what taught me this stuff. I mean, ain't nothing to teach you like having something like that happen.
Yeah.
I realized that I didn't know where I was at, and I was trying to figure out which direction to go, and I realized if I laid down on the ground and got the horizon above the ground where I could see just a little bit of the light, I could make out what the mountains looked like, and then I used that to figure out which direction I needed to go. So, and I'm sure that's a common knowledge, I guess, but I didn't know it at that time. But I learned it that night. I learned to get down and get the horizon up above the ground level to where I could see a little bit, and you could make out some terrain features, and I could tell a little bit about which direction I needed to go, and that got me out.
Yeah.
Even though I was staggering and stumbling and tripping and running into stuff because I didn't have a light, but I knew which way, direction to go.
You'd been hunting, or?
No, I had went into a place looking for a place to hunt real late in the evening. Just left the truck, climbed the bank, and went up this big deep holler and crossed this little saddle. And got a little further from the truck than I intended to, and then when I came back, I thought I was going the right direction. When I came back, I went through the wrong saddle going back, and I didn't come out where I thought I would. The road was not there. So I was kind of freaked out by that.
Yeah. You're being able to see the light reminds me of one of Pap's original songs. It's a bright shining light. Of course, Pap in the song is talking about, I mean, it's symbolically talking about your faith, the bright shining light. But when you imagine being lost, if you could just see one light in the darkness like that, if you could just see one light, how much better you'd feel.
Oh, yeah.
You know, how it would give you hope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I did that several times. On that walkout, I would get down and look again to be sure. There was a low gap in the mountains in the far distance, and I would get down where I could see that. And that was kind of the direction that I needed to be going. And I would stop every so often to make sure I hadn't veered off of that. And I knew I would eventually come out to the road, whether it was at where I needed to be or not. As long as I was in the road, I knew the road was, I could find my way back.
Yeah. I guess after that you knew to carry a flashlight, huh?
Before I left the house the next time, I had all the stuff I needed to, if I had to spend the night.
Yeah.
And ever since then, I've always done that.
Because you just don't ever know.
Yeah, I mean, if you leave for an hour out of the backyard here, you know, there's all kinds of possibilities that it may turn into tonight or tomorrow before you can get back. You don't ever know.
Yeah.
So have just a few basic things with you.
What kind of fishing do you do? Fly fishing, trolling, or what?
I mostly trout fish, and I do a little bit of just started back doing a little bit of lake fishing out of a kayak, just bass fishing and whatever else will bite. But I grew up trout fishing, and I enjoy the trout fishing an awful lot, but I don't particularly like to eat them.
I love them. And
I don't like the lake fishing as much, but I'd rather eat the stuff like crappie and walleye and stuff out of the lake. I'd much prefer that fish over the trout, but I like the trout fishing better. It's kind of funny.
Yeah, I love the trout.
I mean, I can eat the trout, I just don't like them as much.
I think we had a question about your kayak. Have you took it out?
Yes, a couple of times.
And will you do a video about it?
Well, I might. Somebody's going to have to get me up to date on my videoing skills.
Yeah. You like it though so far?
Oh yeah.
Austin and Matt. Austin has one, so Austin and Matt have went several times.
I've went a couple of times. It's just by the time I got it, it was so hot that, you know, I'm kind of waiting toward fall of the year when it cools off a little to use it some more, and then especially through the spring next year. That's when the fish bite better anyway.
This was one. Do we ever play music just for our own pleasure? Of course, yeah. Over the years, everything, we don't always video whatever we're playing, and certainly Paul and the girls do sit around and pick the guitar. I joked when I was growing up, I didn't realize until I was an adult that you mean everybody don't have somebody picking the guitar while you're trying to watch TV. You know, there's always somebody playing the guitar. So definitely yes. Someone asked me if it was hard being married to somebody that's an only child.
Be careful with that one.
I would say no. No more harder than it is for anybody. When you first get married, you have to work through all the things you have to work through. So I don't think so. I think for Matt, he probably had to work through realizing if you do have siblings, then in a tight family, then that plays into everything. Not that they're your boss or interfere, but it's just different. It's a different dynamic. I guess you had to realize that, whereas Matt had never had to worry about nobody but himself. So then when you're, lots of times if you're a sibling, you end up worrying about your siblings and a lot too. Yeah. So, but no, I don't think it was a problem. Someone asked if our girls were identical or fraternal. So this is the only way I know to explain it. It's what the doctors told us. Now when we first had Corey and Katie, they thought they were fraternal because they had separate everything in the womb. But right after that, their pediatrician told me that that had changed, that now that they thought no, that they possibly could still be identical even though they had separate if they split instantly. It's like how soon that split happened. And so his suggestion was he personally thought they were mirror image identical twins because of different characteristics that they had. Corey's right-handed, Katie's left-handed, the way their hair is, just several different little lists that he had. But if we ever wanted to know for positively sure, we would have to do a DNA test, and we never done that. And I don't think they would ever do it either, unless there was some reason they had to, but I don't think they would. So kind of back to the music, people that, all of us that play music, how did you learn? Who taught you to play the guitar?
I guess Daddy just shoved me 2 or 3 chords because he always had one around. And I just kind of picked up from there. And I still don't know much more than that, but it would be Daddy.
And for Paul, it would definitely be Pap, and then of course he learned lots on his own. For Corey would be Pap and Paul. Katie kind of with the fiddle, she had to go a different route because nobody here played a fiddle. The fiddle is fretted like a mandolin, so Paul could help her a little bit with that because he could play the mandolin too. But she had to do a lot on her own. And as far as me with the bass, Paul and Pap, mostly Paul I would say, taught me. And then does Granny play an instrument too? Granny never played an instrument, but she sung a lot with Pap. She sung, and of course she sung at church, but her and Pap would go around singing at different places, churches and things like that. Okay, Matt, what happens when you come unfed? I think people's been hearing you say that, and that's not a familiar phrase for a lot of people.
I just get hungry, starving to death.
You get hangry?
Yeah, hangry, I guess.
Yeah, so they say, do you feel jittery or irritable? That's the hangry. You break out in a sweat. You just get weak.
Sometimes I get a little bit weak if I've really worked hard and not eat very much, and you know, I guess you have maybe a blood sugar fluctuation or whatever. But it's mostly just that I'm so used to eating about any time I want to eat, and when I don't get to, I get like a little child, I guess, and I get hateful and I want something to eat.
Well, I would say too, it's because you exert a lot of energy. If you work really, really hard, you've got to have fuel to do that. You know, you got to eat hearty to do hearty work.
I guess, and then I guess the coming unfed, the actual term is just an old mountain slang term, come unfed.
Yeah.
It just, I think it's cool. I like it.
Oh, it is, yeah. And then how do you keep that from happening? Like you said, you just try to eat all the time.
I eat, and I try not to do that as much anymore because it's probably not that good as you get older, but I just eat all the time. Not as much as I did 6, 8, 9 years ago, but back then I would eat big meals, and then I'd eat 2 or 3 times in between those big meals.
I think too, maybe it's people's metabolism is different, and you just have a really fast metabolism. I had to have a test years and years and years ago, and that's what it was for something else. But during the test, the doctor told me you have a really high rate of metabolism, really high.
Well, that's what I've got. I don't know.
Maybe.
I know I get hungry, and I've got to eat pretty quick after I get hungry.
This one we kind of just answered, but just was what was our favorite fish, or does we eat whatever Matt brings home? We would eat whatever they catch, but for me, trout really is my favorite. But for Matt, I guess it'd be crappie or something.
And I like fried catfish awful well, too.
I do. I like those too, but I just really love trout. How long have we gardened and canned?
A long time.
Yeah, and for me and Matt too, I guess as far as the canning part goes, pretty much all of our lives, because we grew up with our parents helping them do it.
Right.
So in one way, of course, we wasn't responsible for it then. We were just responsible for doing, go, do, move,
Right.
do this,
Go get
do that,
this.
go get this, break this, fill them jars, those kind of things. But so pretty much for all of our lives, you'll find that often in the mountains of Appalachia is that families do pass down that tradition of gardening, and if they don't garden, they still put up stuff. Maybe they go to the farmer's market or they buy from the produce stand down the road or something like that. Things we did love about each other and dislike about each other. Can you believe I'm going to make you answer that? Make Matt do some lovey-dovey stuff. I bet we could guess what each other. I bet what you dislike about me, one thing you would say, is that Matt calls it the pull and roll, jerk, pull,
The
and
tuck
roll.
and roll.
Tuck and roll is that I get the covers and I tuck them and then I jerk them and I roll and then I take them with me.
Yeah, and it's every night.
Yeah.
Every night.
I tried to tell him he should just get his own cover and keep it over there on his side of the bed.
But I don't get what's the purpose and all that is.
I don't know. I'm asleep. I can't control what I do when I'm asleep. So then what do you think I would say about you that I dislike?
What you dislike about me?
Mm-hmm.
Probably my temper.
Your Yosemite Sam Fitz.
Yeah. Would that be right?
Yeah. It ain't that at this point, I'm just like, oh, I don't dislike them. I don't even, once you've been married a long time, I guess you're
Just
used to my
ignore me.
tuck and roll. Yeah, I just ignore you.
I have learned though, it's almost like watching an animal. You can tell when he's about to move. Well, I can tell when you're about to do the tuck and roll if I'm awake,
gosh.
and I start wadding the covers up right here. So when you do that, I've got them, and you're not getting them. I don't know if I've ever told you that or not. I do that about every night.
I know.
When you're about to move.
And do I give up?
Well, you'll turn and roll, but you're not taking them all with you. So
You've learned a little trick against me, huh? You
Well,
have to
yeah, it's
sleep
like-
with one eye open.
It's like it's like a battle plan, you know. It's either
That's
that or
hilarious.
you're going to get cold.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh gosh, that's hilarious. So what do we love about each other? I love that Matt, he's my best friend, so I love that.
Oh yeah.
We get
Same
along.
here.
Yeah, we get along good. Always have. And I love that he's very clear-minded, where I get off in the weeds, and like if I'm trying to make a decision, I've got like all these different things going into my decision, and Matt just kind of sees it like plain what it's for. Like here's it all laid out, and it's not as hard as you're making it. You're more clear-minded than I am. And I'm more about the details, and what if this, and what if that, and what if this, and Matt's like, no, brush all that away, and just look right here at what you got. It makes it make more sense. So Matt's better at that than me, for sure.
Sometimes I ain't. When I have my little.
Yeah, but you always pitch your little Yosemite Sam fit, and then you come back around to, and then you're like that.
Okay.
You just have to get past that part.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now I got to come up with something I love about you.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
Well, it's all kinds of things.
Oh gosh, I just had
What was that?
I don't know if it was a bee or a fly on my nose this time, not on
Did it sting you?
Matt's. No, it didn't sting me.
I see it right there.
Yeah, so you got to come up with something about me.
Well, I love that you're a really, really, really good mother, and always has been.
Sweet.
Very good mother, and a very good wife. Couldn't ask for no better.
Wow, you're sweet, Dad. So what do we think is the most important value, tradition, or trait that we are passing on through YouTube, like, you know, through our videos? I guess number one, the biggest thing is I love that we're really showing a true glimpse of Appalachia. Now, when I say that, it doesn't mean that Appalachia's not got its share of troubles, just like every other part of the world. Doesn't mean that I think there's no drugs or no family issues or no strife of any kind, no wrongdoing. All that's here. But it's also true that so many people live just like Matt and I do, and in joy and happiness and getting along and making the best life that we can. So I love that. And I've had a lot of people comment and say, like, well, I'm so glad that I watched a couple of your videos, because I always just thought of Appalachia as this poor place where nobody could thrive and nobody could be happy, and that drugs were so bad, and you know, people they lacked education, and just all the stereotypes kind of thing, that I really felt sorry for the people there. But I watch your videos and see, well, that's not true for your family, and you know, you say it's not true for others, that's true. There's lots of people like me and Matt. So I think that's really important as far as our endeavor of celebrating Appalachia. And then I think it's important always, anytime in this world, to show that if you have a loving family and people that get along, and that they genuinely just like to be with each other, and they've got each other's backs even when bad things come along and hard times come along, that they hang in there and get through it together.
Right.
So I think we all need more good role models. Not that we're not perfect. We fall short of the mark all the time. But that would be my hope, is those are the things that we're showing, that there's good living in Appalachia, and then that it's wonderful to have a close family.
Yes.
And that hard work pays off, and all those things. That there's, you know, a way to be happy for sure in the mountains of Appalachia. If you could only have one knife, we had the question about if he could only have one gun. That was in one of the previous ones. But if you could only have one knife, what would it be?
Oh gosh, that's another hard one. I just like so many of them.
Yeah, Matt's got so many knives, there's barely any place to put them. You need like a knife room or something.
I don't know. I've got a couple of custom knives that I like awful well. And then I've got
what are they, WC?
Yeah, a couple of WC knives. He has a website, you can look his stuff up. He makes great knives.
What's his name, William Collins?
William Collins, yes. But I guess I'm awful partial to the old, especially the old ones. I don't have an old one, but I have a fairly new one, but it's the same knife. The old Case Hunter folding knives, I really like those, because I always, when I was young, I always kind of wanted one, and I didn't get one until I was grown. But they're just kind of iconic as far as being a kind of all-around woods knife, and something about them I like, and now I've got one.
Yeah.
I always wanted one when I was little.
So recipes in mine and Jim's cookbook, someone was asking about them, and if you've not picked up your copy of the cookbook, I'll put that in the description below. But what are 2 recipes that I really want people to try? A dessert, and then one that's not a dessert. I guess for the dessert, I would say the Arsh tater cake, because that's my favorite recipe, the sweet recipe in the whole book. So an Arsh tater cake, I would want people to try that. It's so good, so good. And then I guess for the other one that's not a cake, not a dessert, I would say either try the biscuit or the cornbread recipe, because I think, you know, think of something stable, a staple that you could learn how to make and then make it every day for your bread. I think either one of those would be great if you're a biscuit person or if you're a cornbread, and I guess that's more than one. So I'm cheating there by saying 2. Someone asked, could we tell a funny story about getting in trouble when we were little? Yeah.
I got all kinds of them.
Yeah, Matt's got all kinds of them. What do you want to
How
share?
long you got?
Yeah.
Let's see. Actually, I was at home alone when I was real young, and I was always into stuff that I shouldn't be into, and I found an ice pick. And I think it was in a toolbox in the shed, maybe. I don't really remember that, but I remember, and I knew I shouldn't be fooling with that, but I couldn't help myself, and I got it out and was finding stuff to poke holes in with it. And I walked by my daddy's Jeep, and I couldn't help myself. I poked one of his tires with it, and of course it poked a hole in it, and all the air started leaking out, and then I panicked. So I didn't know what to do. I stuck my finger over it, and it stopped. But as soon as I got my finger off the hole, it started hissing air, and I knew that if I'd have reasoned it out, I would have thought he would never see a hole that small. And he wouldn't have. But I was just in a panic, and I thought, I've got to make that stop. So I run in the house, and all the time when I was young, I was always building model cars. And I got some model car glue and took it out there and just gobbed it all over the hole. And the air kept coming out and made these big glue bubbles. It was about this big around. And when it finally was over with, So Daddy came home, and there was this big wad of glue stuck to the side of his tire, and the tire was flat.
So he knew.
So he knew exactly what went on. Then he come in there and wanted to know what happened, and I said, I don't know what you're talking about. So then I got my hind end busted for doing that and not telling the truth.
Lying, yeah. Was you thinking you was going to be like Starsky and Hutch or something and do
I don't know what I was thinking. I mean, I don't know.
You just couldn't resist.
I have another one, too, that's even better.
Okay, what's it?
Daddy had gutters, I think new gutters. I don't know if they was new, but they were gutters on the house and all the downspouts. And we camped a lot when I was young, and we had an old tent that something happened to. I think it got ripped or tore or anything, but Daddy kept the tent poles. And it was the old kind that would go together, the old aluminum sections of poles. And he kept those, and I got one of them and was playing with it, throwing rocks up and hitting them, you know, like a baseball bat. And for some reason, I went around the house with that tent pole, and I beat all the downspouts on the house flat.
Oh, gosh.
Did I ever tell you about that?
No, I don't think so.
You know, the downspouts that run down, and I all of them, on every corner of the house, and just beat them flat, and the water wouldn't go through them.
Oh, no.
And I have no clue what possessed me to do that, but I soon learned not to do that. He had to have the gutter people come out and redo every downspout on the house.
Oh, gosh. No, I could just see him explaining it to them. Well,
Yeah.
see, my son.
Yeah, yeah. I got spanked right nicely for that.
Oh, goodness.
And there's just countless of
Other
that right
stories,
there.
yeah.
Same kind of stuff.
I don't know. The only thing comes to mind for me is I remember we lived at Sherlock's, and I wanted to paint my fingernails like Granny had painted hers. I don't remember if she painted her toenails or what she did. So I knew I wasn't supposed to, but I got the fingernail polish and I painted my fingernails. But then I thought that it was so pretty. What would really be pretty is if I just painted my whole hands. So I painted all my hands all the way through there. And I guess I was in the process of painting them, and my memory is Granny opening the bathroom door and then just saying, "Oh my Lord," like her face, you know,
Yeah.
that she was worried that I'd painted them all. So that was funny. And then one time this was when we lived here, Paul was little, and I really don't think I done this. I mean, I still don't know why this was my fault, but Paul cut his hair. He had, you know, I mean, he had pretty short hair, but in the front he had some that kind of went over like this, off on the side, and he cut a big hunk out of it. And somehow that was my fault. I was supposed to be watching him, I guess, and I wasn't watching him. I let him cut his hair. So I got in trouble then. I got in trouble for other times, but most of my stunts were not like Matt's. Most of the times I got in trouble was me and Paul fussing. We'd get in fusses, and we didn't really fight that much, but just fussing with each other, and then that would get on Granny's nerves, and she'd get on to us for fussing and fighting with each other.
Yeah, gosh,
I didn't do none of the downspout stuff like that.
I broke windows out of the neighbor's houses. I mean, I did, you know, I don't know. I just was rambunctious,
You
I
were.
guess. I mean, it didn't translate on up into.
No.
I didn't go to jail when I got into my teen years or anything. But
you calmed down.
I just
finally.
went to and fro breaking stuff, I guess.
Are we early birds or night owls?
Absolute early birds.
Yeah, I'd be even an earlier bird than Matt if he'd let me. I mean, it's not that he don't let me, but it's just we end up watching something or talking or whatever. But I'd go to bed like at 7 o'clock every night if I could.
Well, I like to go to bed early, but that's just, I'd like the sun to go down first. I don't want to lay in there and look outside and the sun's still shining. That's ignorant.
I'm tired. I could go to bed.
Well, I get tired too,
Yeah.
but you don't, it ain't like off and on the switch. You got to
I
wind
know.
down and then go to bed.
That's what Matt says. But he knows I can be, if I get still, I'm asleep like that.
Oh, yeah, it's irritating.
30 seconds till snore, Matt says.
Mm-hmm.
What is our favorite meal of the day? What's your favorite meal of the day?
Mine is breakfast.
I think mine's supper. Why is yours breakfast?
I just like breakfast food, and I
Yeah.
like, you know, especially if I'm off. You know, I like the process of cooking breakfast, especially before daylight. And I just like, you know, I think that's a good meal of the day to get good and full, and then you're ready to go for whatever you got to do. You got the fuel to do it.
Yeah. I think I like supper because that's like the day's done and everybody comes back together, back to home. It's kind of a homier thing, and kind of ends the day, everybody together, eating together. Whereas breakfast ain't always like that, and dinner's not either if people's all in their different directions, but I think that's why I like supper the best. And then of childhood, did you have a favorite meal? Like, what was your favorite? Probably similar to the ones we already said, I guess. For me it is, definitely.
Yeah, and I remember one of my favorite meals was almost the same as that, but the fried fish, fresh caught fried fish, and the potatoes and ramps and stuff to go along with it, because we was usually camping when that went on, and eating it off a paper plate next to the campfire. That is a really joyful thing to me, and it still is.
Yeah.
We don't do it as often, but looking back on it, that's a fond memory.
I think mine was pretty much the same. I guess easy to please. I like beans and taters, and I love all the fresh garden food. I love that with, you know, fried squash and those kind of things. But I love the fish and the hush puppies, and that was always like we didn't have that very often, but if Pap and the boys went fishing and we got to have that, it was like a kind of took on a celebration air of celebration. Just to get to eat all that good food together, we really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
This is a good one. I don't know what surprised us most about parenting. What didn't? What didn't?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean,
I think for me, the most surprising thing is the first time you're a parent. Like before I was a parent, and I was around a lot of kids. I babysit cousins, and Steve and Kim already had Ben and Mark, but all my life from when I was 12 years old, I babysit kids. So I've been around lots of kids, and I always liked kids, and they liked me. But it's different when you're their parent. So for me, the most surprising thing was, like, while I was pregnant, I just thought, you know, well, I'm just gonna, when I have my kids, I'm just gonna explain to them, and they'll just understand, and they'll do whatever I say because they'll just understand. I really believed that.
Yeah.
So I think that was the surprising thing to me, to find out, oh, they have their own thoughts and wishes and demands and opinions that ain't right. You know, I can't just reason with them. That don't work. I mean, it does over a period, you know, over the lifetime of the child, of course. You have to instill your values and all that, but I thought just on anything that come up, I would just explain it, and they'd be like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
That doesn't work.
Yeah, the most surprising thing to me is I just recently found out it don't never stop.
Yeah.
It's like joining the mob.
Yeah.
When you have, they don't tell you this, when you have kids, it's like joining the mob, because it never ever
ends.
stops.
Oh, gosh.
And there's nothing you can do to get out of it. So, yeah, I don't know what you do, but you just got to keep going, I guess.
This is another one that we get fairly often, is, do we have a dishwasher? Why don't we have a dishwasher, and do we want a dishwasher? We don't have this is the funny part, we've had 2 dishwashers since we've been married, and we didn't want neither one of them.
And never used
neither one of them. Never turned them on. And why did we have them? Miss Cindy, she had a dishwasher, so she thought we should have a dishwasher. So the first one was really nice. When we first moved in our house, she bought the appliances for us. They were used or refurbished or something, wasn't they? I don't know where they come from, out of some kind of apartment building or something in Atlanta. Anyway, they were nice though, very nice. And one of them was a dishwasher. For how many years? At least 7 years, 8 years, 9 years, something like that. We used it as a storage. I kept my Christmas dishes in it, like that I only used at Christmas. And then did we take it out? Yeah, no, before that, she just got it. She thought, well, they don't use it because it don't work. Well, we told her we never plugged it up. That's why it didn't work. So then one year at Christmas, she got me a dishwasher. Yeah. And I was like, I tried to tell her, Miss Cindy, I just really don't want a dishwasher. I didn't grow up with one, and it just never enters my mind to have to put dishes in a. I don't know. It just don't.
Yeah, we've always washed them as we go.
So it just don't even. Yeah. I mean, I just never think about it. It's not like I miss it. It's what I was trying to tell her. But she insisted, and so she bought me one.
So then we had 2.
And so then we had 2. But that one, we never even opened the box, because I had told her, and she didn't listen, and then there it sat. So we donated it. At that same time, Matt was building a fellowship hall for a church, and we donated it to that church. So that's where that dishwasher's at. And then eventually when we was going to remodel our kitchen, which was a disaster in itself, but we quickly learned that even though the things we had were not, that we had built the house with, were not like top of the line, they were top of the line compared to what you could get today.
Right.
Yeah. So anyway, we got rid of the old dishwasher, and now it's just an open space. But we just are people that didn't grow up with dishwashers and just don't think about it. But I think they're wonderful for people like Miss Cindy and like whoever else that,
we
that have
actually
them.
had one in the house when I was growing up, when I was little.
Yeah.
But I never used it. I was young.
Yeah.
And I don't remember. I guess Mama used it maybe. I don't know. But I do remember there was one there.
Yeah.
I just don't remember it being used a great deal. I would say she did. But, yeah, I'm not I just soon wash them as you go, wash them when you get done, what's left, and that's just the kind of people we are.
Yeah.
We're not going to throw dishes on the counter and leave them.
No, but I don't ever, to each his own about the dishwashers, right? Yeah. One question was, do I ever make sourdough bread? I did years and years and years ago, ages ago.
Yeah, I forgot about that. You need to get back on that.
Yeah, but I've not made it in years. Someone did send me some starter mix that's dried, so I could start again, but I've not done that. But we liked it when I made it. We liked it. What are our favorite Bible verses? Any favorite Bible verses? Again, it's kind of like the memories. I have so many that I couldn't name them all, or we'd be here all day. And then they change. Some of them might come back around again, but I'm somebody that it's like one verse gets on my mind, and I think about that one for a good long while, and then it seems real special to me, and then it kind of fades away, and another one takes its place, and maybe that one will come back. But so it's hard to pick just one. What about you, Matt?
I think mine would probably be the 23rd Psalm, because Grandma Bonnie used to make me recite it. She'd teach it to me, and then at night when I spent the night with her, she had a bedroom. She lived in an apartment. She had a bedroom that had 2 beds in it. I slept one, she slept one. And she would teach me that, among others, but I remember that one vividly. She would teach me that verse and then make me recite it back to her before I could go to sleep. So I learned it, and I've always known it. I still know it now to this day because of her.
Right.
And that's.
I love that memory of her being tied to it.
Right.
So I'm gonna tell you the one that currently is my favorite, but it may not be. Like I said, it just seems like I go in spells of it. So this is one of the ones that's come back around like that. But I wrote this is funny, on June 29th when I was doing my little daily devotional thing. And on June 29th, it was 59 degrees. You wish it was that now?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's Nehemiah 8:10. Then he said unto them, Go your way, eat the fat, and drink the sweet, and send portions unto them for whom nothing is prepared. For this day is holy unto our Lord, neither be ye sorry, for the joy of the Lord is your strength. So that's the one that's been running around in my head. And if I go back in the book, back to January of 2022, I'd wrote that down too. So since then, that one's kind of been on my mind along with others. And I'll just tell you, on January 4th, 2022, it was 59 degrees. Ain't that weird?
That's weird.
It's 59 on that June, and it was but on January 2022, it was raining. It was stormy and pouring the rain's what I've wrote down. So that's what it was doing. Anyway, lots of favorite Bible verses for us. How do we manage hard times? I think we kind of talked about this in the last one about just never giving up.
You just got to dig in.
And then those Bible verses, of course, help with hard times. Help you if you're a believer. Your faith plays into that. I think the tight-knit family plays into that. So we can rely on each other, and even when things don't go like you want them to, or you get a disappointment, if you have loved ones around you who are there to help you through it, that helps you through hard times.
Yep.
And we're very blessed that we have that. My heart goes out to people who don't, or goes out to, even if you have all that and you have hard times, it's hard times. That's why it's hard. Unexpected things happen, disappointments in life, all those things. But I think the combination of faith and family, and then that perseverance of just saying, I'm gonna it's going to get better. I'm just going to have to get through this. I'm going to have to wade across it, is what Miss Cindy was saying when she was sick. So we'll just have to wade across it. The last two today that we'll end this one on was both about our YouTube channel. So how did I convince my family to be on video?
Money.
Oh, I pay you. With Matt and Corey and Katie, especially my immediate family, but even Granny and Paul, and Pap's gone, so he's not here, and now Miss Cindy's gone. But they were such a part of the Blind Pig and the Acorn that it was not, you know, they already had people on the internet talking to them and being kind to them, and also being not kind to them, all those things that go along with that. So they'd already kind of experienced it, and it wasn't a crazy ideal when I told them about it. I mean, Matt, of course, was in on it from the start, the Celebrating Appalachia, but I mean, he was part of the one that helped me plan it. Me and him together did. But so it wasn't like I was forcing them to, or I had to cajole them into it or anything. It was just kind of a natural progression of the Blind Pig and the Acorn. Does it get old having to film? Not so far, no. And then to go along with that was, did we have a schedule, and do we worry about privacy, and do we feel exposed? That was kind of all those questions together. So we do try to have a schedule. I do. On Mondays and Tuesdays I like to do a lot of our filming, but that doesn't always happen. Then there's other days that we film too. But as far as privacy, I think it's, because I feel like this about people that I watch, it's like you always watch them and you get to know them, and you're like, you know everything about them. You see all the parts of their life, but then you have to remind yourself, well, no, I'm watching 3 videos a week, and even if they were, or 4 videos a week, and even if they were 30 minutes long, that's still a very small portion of their life. Right. So there's lots of stuff that doesn't get filmed, and there's lots of stuff that is private, you know. So for us, we don't necessarily feel that. There is the exposing, you are exposing yourself, because what have we been told? I talk way too much. That's probably the most one I get. I talk way too much. Would I just be quiet and share the recipe? They don't want to hear none of the history, you know, those kind of comments. Or it's funny for Matt is that in one video somebody asked me what my son was doing. It was Matt. Yeah, it was my son. And it was something, they were saying it like, he don't know what, your son don't know what he's doing or something. Like, yeah. I was like, well, first of all, he's not my son. Second of all, he does know what he's doing. Just because he does it different doesn't mean. So you definitely do put yourself out there. You have to have a thick skin. Yeah. And you have to understand, I think for us, it's hard not to get your feelings hurt, and it's hard not to let stuff make you mad, but you always have to remind yourself that you don't know what that person's going through. Also, with any kind of messaging, you can't see people's inflection, their expressions, or the inflection, and hear the inflection in their voice. So they may not have even meant it like that, you know, the way you're taking it. And then there's people that are hurting, and they're sad, and they've got a lot of anger and stuff. So sometimes that's it. And then there are just crazy people. I mean, that you can't. They're just going to be mean, and there's just nothing you can do about it. Yeah. But thank goodness for us, 99.9% of everyone is kind and nice and good to us. Right. So, which is wonderful, and thank you. We thank you for that. Yeah. Thank you for that. This one kind of goes right along with that one. Was there a moment we realized that we were doing the right thing by sharing our lives? Did we realize that? I would say for me, and I think for Matt, and I can even speak for Corey and Katie, would be pretty much every day. You know, when people leave us comments, that we remind them of their grandparents, we remind them of their parents, of their aunts, or uncles, or whatever it is, remind them of their childhood, and how thankful they are that we're taking them back to those places. I think that's really rewarding. Oh, yeah. I mean, I think we're feeling a need there. There's people that tell us that they're lonely, and that because we remind them of their family, they can even put us just on in the background and hear us talking and feel comforted somehow, because we sound like their people. You know, we remind them of their people. And then, of course, there's people that say that we're teaching them things and they've learned from us. That's also humbling and rewarding at the same time. Oh, yeah. So we really do feel like we're doing what God wants us to do. I mean, even saying that makes me almost feel like, are you kidding me? You're just nothing special. You're just a YouTuber. But ever how small it is, I feel like we're doing the right thing. And we're not, you know, changing the world like other people do in a lot of ways. But we are definitely feeling that need, I think, for people that need to be reminded of feel closer to their loved ones, or be reminded of them, or whether they need to learn how to can deer meat or make cornbread like their Aunt Mary Jo, or whatever it is. I feel like that we're doing that. And we couldn't do that, though, if it wasn't for you. So we're so grateful for you and so thankful that you support us and that you allow us to do this, what we kind of feel like our calling is, to celebrate Appalachia. Everything under that umbrella, from family to folklore to food to music to all of it. You really bless us with your comments, all the things you share, and with your questions, all these wonderful questions. We thank you for submitting them. We hope that you've enjoyed this Q&A. I'll link to those others in case you missed them. And then we might do one more just with the questions we've received during the Q&As. It may not be as long, but we might try to do that at some point too. And as always, we're just thankful that you stopped by to help us celebrate Appalachia.